If there's one thing humans love, it's the conquer. Like 90% of Earth's land has been taken over by human infrastructure and whatnot. Even the hottest places in the barren, pale wastelands of the South and North Pole. Exceptions are of course a few untouched islands in the oceans, which, fun fact, according to information, we have only explored 5% of the ocean. The rest is just unknown to us yet. This sounds fascinating, but no, there are no megalodons or ancient species hiding. It's probably just water. But back to my point. Even if we have explored so much of the Earth and discovered new technology in the medical field and war, there's still one thing unexplored. And it's right in front of us. Wait, no, it's around us. Space is something that's fascinating to a lot of people, an infinitely expanding void full of galaxies, which are then again full of solar systems with their own gas giants, planets, moons and other bodies. The ever-expanding space at the same time, however, means that most of us won't even get to see it, despite how many scientific breakthroughs in interstellar travel we find. But that's where fiction helps us visualize this intergalactic spirit of exploration and adventure, and every artist has their own vision of this idea. This feeling of sitting outside at night and just observing the stars, wondering what it would be like to explore this place, makes all the trouble pause for just a moment to admire the limitless possibilities of what could be hidden from us. Now what does that have to do with Risk of Rain 2013 and Risk of Rain 2 2019? I'll get to it, jeez. Oh, and me? Yeah, I was invited to a space mission to explore brand new planets. It took me a while to find a new job, considering that employers think you're crazy when you put "went to hell and held a presentation" in your job application. It tells you a lot about the job industry when a spacefaring exploration group hires you before Aldi does. Anyways, Hopo Games. They make games. In 2013 they made Risk of Rain 1. It was a quaint little 2D roguelike where you kill enemies through stages until you beat the final boss. It was so cool it even got released on the PSP. And then in 2019 they made Risk of Rain 2, and for a new entry they decided, okay, so how about we take this and add a third exit. Oh, my bad. I don't know who this guy is. Let's just, yeah, like that. Wanted to try something new this time. What do you think? Please leave the feedback in the comments, and the people with negative ones, meet me after the video ends, behind the ship. You don't want to know how long this took me though. I'm gonna put some stuff here that helped me make this, and you should say, what's going on with your hands or your shoulders? I was born this way, and that's rude. Anyways, Risk of Rain 2. It's a game that just kind of refuses to leave my mind from time to time. The mechanics, the style, the vibe, the music. Jesus Christ, the music. But we'll get to that point. I've decided to structure the game like this. The base game will be covered first, and then we'll talk about the DLC and the main game is done. And I can assure you, I have a lot of thoughts about them. 30 pages of thoughts. Jesus, I must be autistic. But first, what is even Risk of Rain 2? Well, a third-person cel-shaded roguelike, of course. And in this case, I must state something. There are different types of roguelikes. There's ones when it's possible to get a strong run, but it's as strong as it can get if you don't have any crazy mods installed. Then there's games that branch off of that, where it's either dependent on your luck or your strategy to make a really good build. However, Risk of Rain 1 and 2 belong in the other category of buckle up bitch, whatever device you are playing this game on is going to get fumbled so hard it will revert back into factory settings. The short form is this. It's a working title, and I think this footage speaks for itself. What I'm trying to say is, if you're an hour into your Risk of Rain 2 run, you better pray it can handle the power of the sun. But without further ado, let's get into stage. This is Titanic Plains, or these other two stages. Your task is to kill shit, get paid, and use it to buy items. When you feel brave enough, you activate the teleporter and move on to the next stage. That's the simplest way to describe the gameplay. Bigger monsters give more money, including elite enemies. These have special abilities, some burn you when they attack you or put balls on you. Then there's glacial ones that freeze you in a small radius. Then there's the really annoying healing ones, making boss waves much more annoying. And then there's special elites that can appear in higher difficulties, like the Malachite ones that spawn spikes, making life a living hell for your survivor. Oh yeah, survivors. They're playable characters. At the beginning you get to choose between Commander of Hunters. First one's the most basic playable character. If he was Ice Cream, he would be vanilla. He shoots and that's it. Huntress is a character more based on crowd control and movement, the only drawback being her paper skin and glass bones. Along the way you will unlock a lot of other characters, so we will talk about those later as well. For now, let's talk about the stage for a bit. Titanic Plains is the most first stage of all time, and the cel-shaded look with the skybox feeds into this being a simple, overgrown and abandoned place. The circular stones monuments everywhere on the stage make it look like there used to be some civilized input here, but it's long gone now. And this barren plateau atmosphere is greatly carried by its music. This is the part where I get giddy. The music for this game was composed by Chris Christodoulou. If you know anything about quirky indie game musicians, he's high up there. If Risk of Rain's music wasn't that impactful, it probably wouldn't have become as popular as it is. Bold claim, I know, but I'm not wrong. The one for this track isn't amazing, but it's simply just an appetizer for the dishes along the way. Risk of Rain's music can be described as synthwave, progressive rock and post-rock, with a few metal inspirations as well. And this style of music really shows off the bizarre and strange vibe of this alien planet as well. But here's the best thing. You know how a lot of musical pieces have drops, right? The part that builds up most of the time and leads into an even better part. Risk of Rain's musical drops though. They make you fucking ascend. This will come back a lot with other music too. Oh, it will. Before we get to the next stage, here's the alternate forms. There's Distant Roots, it has trees, and there's Verdant Falls, which was actually from a small crossover update with a Dead Cells inspired skin for the character Mercenary. It's very pretty with all the pastel colors, broken spaceship parts, and flower-like structures. Anyways, you've got enough junk, let's hit the teleporter. This is a stone titan. As long as you keep on moving, they're doable, but there's also the laser. Hide somewhere if you're out in the open. Oops. Then there's the Beetle Queen, incredibly manageable unless you get swarmed by bugs. And finally, here's the Wandering Vagrant. I like jellyfish, but this one hurts. Just make sure not to stand near him when he does. Anyways, you defeated your first teleporter boss. Congratulations. Let's move on to the next stage, unless you missed something. No we didn't. This is Abandoned Aqueduct. A desolate and deserted stage full of pots that cream you, greater wisps that annihilate you, and sand. The sand does nothing, but it's there for emotional support. Here's something I just want to talk about, but the limited color schemes with the cel-shaded environment allows Hopo to decide on a few colors and then make the stage really stand out. And I really like their color palettes across all the stages. The brown and beige sandy environments with the orange fog, with all the rib cages on the mountains with red flags sticking out of them. Fantastic. The music for this one is amazing. It's very fitting to a desert-coded theme. And the drop is just... oh! This is just stage 2, by the way. Stage 2. Wait a second, I'm this far and I haven't even talked about the items yet. There's 6, technically 7 tiers of items. White ones are the most common, and only give usually small stat improvements. The thing that makes them good, however, is not the quality, but the quantity. Like yeah, one soldier's syringe doesn't do a lot. But 20. Then there's green items. Those are stronger items after the white ones and bring better benefits like double jumps, extra damage sources, or defense. Then there's equipment items. They only work upon being activated, usually have a cooldown. They can go from useful like Roll Capacitator and Aerial Annihilation with a short cooldown, or the legally distinct BFG. And then, the cream of the crop. The red items. They have the strongest effects, may it be explosions on all your attacks, making your rocket attacks even stronger, giving you permanent immunity to debuffs, or turning overhealing into shield. They're much rarer though, so unless you have a way to get them easier, you'll likely only get a few of them in your run. And then there's the special blue items that can be bought from a shop in between stages. I really like the lunar shops, they're so bizarre. It can be accessed from activating these nude altars hidden in every single stage, and after the teleport is finished, the portal spawns. Just remember to enter it instead of entering the teleporter. But how do you activate them? I hear you cry. Well, with Lunar coins. It's a rare currency dropped by enemies sometimes, unless you're a PC player and edited the config for you to have 1,000,000 coins. Now the blue items are interesting. They have a strong benefit but also a huge negative. For example, your damage gets doubled but your health is halved. Your health is increased but it's turned into shield, and they are normally unremovable. So unless you pick them up before, you must decide if it's even worth picking it up. And then there's yellow items. There are specific boss drops which have a strong ability related to the boss you just humbled. Overall, all of their benefits stack together to make your build Looks like I said the bonus word! If you ever look at an item, ask the question, does it stack with other copies of the item? You can always expect a yes. Do the Will-O-Wisp explosion stack? Yes. Do the rocket items stack? Yes. Does the shaped glass item stack? Yeah. Oh. This absolutely insane Synergy Fest makes your run even stronger, and I love it. I think we talked enough about items for now. Let's get back to the stage. Next stage, I'm gonna go more in depth on the characters. So for now, let's quickly get to the teleport and complete the stage. Here's a new boss that can appear. Claim Dune Striders. In other words, the feeling of running on the beach barefoot and then getting over those areas that are full of shell shards and they pierce into your skin and all the whimsy of being at the beach is gone. All you can think of is agony! Projectiles that follow you, slow you, and a last-ditch minute attack where it heals itself by siphoning health from other creatures, including you, and enemies, and drones, and I want to die. It has got to be the most annoying boss to fight early on, and these projectiles hit hard, especially on higher difficulties. I think now it's the time to bring up Risk of Rain's difficulty scaling. Well, I mean it isn't, but well, I mentioned it anyway. Risk of Rain 2's difficulty increases with time, and with timing, the damage starts to increase, more enemies will spawn, and bigger enemies, elite enemies, or even bosses spawning as enemies will appear. Despite how busted your run is, you have not immediately won just yet, because you could run into a group of severe damage dealing enemies at any point and be turned into a mashed survivor with much APs. This is what I find interesting about it. In games like Isaac or Genshin, nothing really stands in your way unless you play a character with low health like the Lost. But in Risk of Rain, it doesn't matter if you have the perfect combination of items or just have everything that exists in the game in your pockets. The longer you take, the harder you get your ass handed if you're not aware of everything that's going on around you. It makes the game a lot more difficult roguelike than others, but for a lot of people it's also challenging, including people like me. Anyways, before we check the next stage, let's go over the other variant of stage 2, wetland aspect. The swamp-like environment with the dead trees sticking out everywhere really shows how unkempt and mulchy it is, and it's got some nice music as well. There's a hidden red item unlock in a crevice at the side of the stage. It's got a cool vulture skeleton just hanging out, and the item you unlock is pretty strong. So let's move on over to stage 3's environment can be split into two very different atmospheres. You have Rally Point Delta, which is a freezing cold area with containers and fans, while the other one is Scorched Acres, a forest area with flying disc platforms illuminated by a beautiful setting sun. And their respective music tracks just add even more to their vibe. Once again, I just want to stress out how well crafted they made the stages. With the help of the stage skyboxes and the filters, they make the cell stages much more atmospheric. May it be the cold and cramped blues of Rally Point Delta, dry and sandy beiges and browns of Abandoned Aqueduct, or the warm and calming red and purple hues of Scorched Acres. There's so much more I want to talk about when it comes to the vibe that surrounds the stages. But now, I want to talk about the survivors. As I said, you start with both Commando and Huntress, and unlock 13 more characters. 5 of those are DLC exclusive, which I will touch on later. But now let's get the vanilla cast out of the way. There's Bandit. He was added in an anniversary update and can be unlocked by just beating the teleporter event of 3rd stage. He's a fun character. He has an ability to shoot a powerful shot, which can be immediately used again with no cooldown if it kills an enemy. Here's Multi. I love Multi. You unlock him by completing the first teleport event 5 times. He's a little all-arounder robot that can switch between two firing styles, allowing him to carry 2 equipment items as well. With some challenges you can unlock saw blades, which is one of my favorite go-tos when I'm playing him. Also, your shift ability is just absolutely adorable. Look at him go! Next one is Engineer. He's a character based on turrets and drones, and you unlock him by completing 30 stages over multiple runs. By the way, remember the everything stacks statement from earlier? Yeah, all the items that apply to you apply to those turrets as well. And when you have the item Bustling Fungus, which applies healing to you when you're standing still, they can just heal the stationary turrets all the time and make them practically invincible. Not you though, just keep on moving, they're not gonna keep you alive forever. Artificer. She's a survivor with a wide catalog of elemental based attacks, and with her ability to freeze enemies, she can be a very strong character to play as. However, even if her ability to float can be helpful for traversal, she can easily get humbled by quicker enemies. You can unlock her by visiting one of the lunar shops and buying her out of the prison that she's in. And this is Mercenary, a mainly melee based character with some really snappy movement. You'd think that a melee character in a game with overwhelming groups of enemies with projectiles can be a recipe for disaster, but a lot of the melee characters actually do a really good job at crowd control and damage output. You can unlock Mercenary in a very special way. When you're on stage 5 and find the teleporter, you can either choose to go to the next stage, aka the final boss, or decide to loop, which teleports you back to the first stage. You go through all the stages, but with new elite enemies and harder bosses. After stage 3, you get in a celestial portal that takes you to a moment fractured, in which you can choose to obliterate yourself, ending the run unlocking mercenary. I love how empty this realm looks. Oh, by the way, there's hidden realms inside main stage progression. Enter them in special ways, which either reward you with a special item or give you a special challenge. There's actually another hidden stage after a moment fractured. All you gotta do is obliterate yourself with an item in your inventory called Beads of Fealty, and when you do, you get taken to a moment hole, a absolute polar opposite to the empty space that is the previous stage. In this stage, you have to defeat a special scavenger, enemies that can equip items which can make them much more dangerous, but can also reward you with a lot of items, or in this case, lunar coins. Oh yeah, survive, let me get it. Rex, a plant robot given life. I don't know, I don't like Rex. He's a quirky guy, alright, but whenever I do any run with him, it just sucks. Maybe I just don't get him. You unlock him by taking a special battery from your escape pod at the beginning to a broken down robot in abyssal depths. This battery can take up an equipment slot, and as soon as you go below 50% health, it explodes and kills you. So yeah, all that hassle and you just get a moderately manageable character. And then there's Loader. Oh, Loader! You unlock her by destroying 6 vulture nests and siren calls, summoning a giant alloy worshipping unit and defeating it. Loader is really fun. It's another melee based character, but this one has the ability to launch yourself through stages and into enemies, and use your arms to cling to enemies and surfaces for movement and just monkey stimulation. Then there's also a special unlockable skill in later updates where you can press R to slam it to the earth, dealing damage to a bunch of enemies, which is extremely satisfying. Anyways, here's Acrid. He's a silly guy. It's yet another melee character, but this one's fighting with damage over time, poison attacks. You can unlock Acrid by finishing the Void Fields, an area hidden under the lunar shops where you have to stand in small zones for a short time, defeat enemies attacking you, enemies which can carry items, mind you. Your run is all fun and games until the enemies got items. Anyways, completing a few of the zones gives you the achievement and frees the whole stage of the damaging air. It's a really pretty stage looking at it once all calm. Looks like it's underwater with all the purple kelp plants. Then, to finish the base game characters off, you've got Captain. He's unlocked by just beating a run as a really strong survivor. He spawns in with a red item which can erase enemy projectiles. He can spawn healing beacons, beacons that can shock or stun enemies, among other abilities. So far it's a pretty powerful collection of various survivors, and the 2 DLCs as I'm writing this add even more. That's it for them so far. So what bosses can appear on stage 3? Rally Point Delta can spawn the magma worm. It's self-explanatory, it's a worm. Honestly, I just love worm bosses in 3D games, probably because I really like the fight in Destiny 2 against the worm god Saul, Will of Thousands. Their power scaling is completely unbalanced, but I just love a big worm. The Scorched Acres can spawn the Grove Tender, a weird masked creature with an annoying chain attack, but he's pretty cool despite the amount of projectiles he spawns. In both stages can also spawn the Imp Overlord, a stronger version of the normal Imp enemies. They're manageable as long as you don't get caught in their melee attack. Oh sick, that's stage 3, let's go. Stage 4's environments can be compared to the 7 deadly sins: Abyssal Depths for wrath, Siren's Call for greed, and Sundered Grove for depression. Abyssal Depths looks awesome, the evil ass red tones with the chains and weird yellow crystals sticking out, it's rad. The sad truth about this area, however, is that there's no original music for it. It uses the same track as Abandoned Aqueducts. There is, however, guaranteed red item chests on this stage, which makes up for it, I guess. Then there's Siren's Call. I mentioned it earlier, it's the stage where you can unlock Loader, but the interesting thing is, by doing the unlock process and fighting the boss, you can get yourself another guaranteed red item. Visually, there isn't really much to be said about Siren's Call. It's like a cliffside version of Titanic Plains. And then there's Sundered Grove. Man, I hate this place. Yeah, it looks cool with the giant luminescent mushrooms and the winding trees, but holy fuck, it's annoying to find the teleporter locations, and at that point Vagrants can just spawn normally and you can get ganged up by Gubs. Actually, I don't have a problem with that, I love Gubs. Now here's a fun thing about it. Yeah, just one. Sundered Grove used to share the soundtrack with Wetland Aspect from earlier, but in the first DLC, Survivors of the Void, it was given its own soundtrack. They might as well be dead. And I think I have a game theory on what killed them. It's that drop. If this boring ass stage didn't get a glow up in the form of original track, I think I would have just remained with my frustrated feelings towards it, but it's so smoothing, so beautiful, it's like you're a blob of dough being spread and turned into a pizza. This is a weird analogy, isn't it? Oh yeah, I need to choose something to talk about this section. There's printers and item shredders, so if you want to get duplicate items outside of command runs, you can do that. Stage 5 only has one vanilla variation, and it's arguably the most famous area, Sky Meadow. It's so calming, and yet this is the stage right before the final boss, or the loop if you wanna do that. So they're not gonna ease up on you. Oh no, you gotta log in. This melancholic atmosphere is amplified thanks to the track for the stage, The Rain, formerly known as Purple. Once again, Chris doesn't miss. There's another special thing about this stage. Under all the floating islands sits a giant portal frame with a code. This is where you unlock the artifacts. Hidden on every stage are tablets with codes on them. Put them into machine, activate the portal, and after you finish the artifact challenge, you'll unlock that artifact permanently. There's 18 artifacts with different effects that either benefit you or are there for challenge purposes. A fan favorite of mine is the artifact of command. If you've ever seen roguelike videos on YouTube with every item is blank, that's what it does. Lets you choose your items. All that matters is what rarity you get and how many you get. Only issue with it is having to choose your items in the middle of being bombarded by enemies. Then there's an artifact that increases your damage but lowers your health immensely, or an artifact that just gives you monsters items, and no, you can't have them. Artifacts really make runs a bit more interesting if you've already unlocked a lot and just want to play for fun. And for the bosses, there is a new one this time, the grandparents. They're related to the parent enemies and I just find them kinda neat. Just glowing, almost humanoid bodies, and then the grandparent just has a giant loop as a head with a rock in the middle. This is some bizarre character design that I just vibe with. Anyways, onwards to the final stage. How far we have come, and here's the final stage. Commencement. This is the stage where you fight the final boss Mithrix, and this tension, this calm before the storm, is once again carried by the man with probably the strongest backbone I've ever seen in man's music history, Con Lentitude Poderosa. You start the stage and walk along this long path and find the rescue ship. You take in all of these pale structures and see that you have to activate pillars to get to the boss. You make it past the 3 dangerous enemy types and... Anyways, it's Mithrix time. The track for Mithrix is fittingly called You're Gonna Need a Bigger Ukulele. And man, you need it. This final boss doesn't shy away with its 4 boss phases. First one is normal, the second one he fucks off and sends his constructs at you. What's cool about this phase, however, is that it changes the music to a melody that uses a leitmotif for the final boss of Risk of Rain 1. God, I fucking love leitmotifs. I wish I could have talked about them more in my Hollow Knight review, like the first review I ever did on my video. But that video sucks, and I'll address it at some point, I swear. The third phase really picks up the pace. It uses the same movement as phase 1, the music gets much more tense, but they're now much stronger and much deadlier. With stuff like the spinning lightning move, you can dish out some evil ass damage if you're not careful enough. When you get through all that, then it truly becomes interesting. Mithrix takes all of your items. Sure, his moveset isn't as mental, but it gets more difficult depending on the items you've picked up. And then when you get over that fight, you're gonna have to get your ass to the rescue ship, do one last charging event and then leave as the moon gets blasted to hell and you've beaten the game. You get to see the end credits, you unlock Captain, and if you've beaten the game on the hardest difficulty, Monsoon, you can unlock an alternate color for the survivor you've played as. And that's about the vanilla-based game. Risk of Rain 2 is such a fascinating game to me, not just because of the gameplay, the fun multiplayer experience, or the lore, but because of how weird and alien the atmosphere is. In the beginning, I mentioned how I started the game by talking about space, and not talking briefly about roguelikes, which would fit into the game more. The reason I did that is because, like, the art direction, the color color palettes, the stages, and the style of the game overall gives me the same feeling that I get when thinking about space. Something bizarre, something uninfluenced by any intelligent beings that are known to us. A comforting place that we haven't stained with our presence and wrongdoings. A world unlike anything we've ever seen before. And thanks to Chris Chrisodoulou's score, it increases this feeling of mine tenfold. Had he not done the music for this, I don't think this game would have left as much of an impact on me as it does right now. Risk of Rain 2 would go to see fantastic reviews from everywhere, the players, game journalists, and well, people like me. And if something does well enough, there is always a little room for a little milking. So DLC it is! What if Risk of Rain 2? But Urpel. Survivors of the Void was the first DLC, aiming to spice up the vanilla game, add some new stuff and provide players with new challenges, and they sure delivered. First, Survivors. The DLC added 2 new characters to play with. First of Railgunner. Railgunner actually returned from Risk of Rain 1, and her whole gameplay is mainly based on hitting critical spots on enemies to deal way more damage. It turns the whole run into a quick scoping montage, and I love it. The second one is the Void Fiend. For this one you have 2 ways of unlocking them. Either you spend 50 waves in the alternate game simulacrum, or you go into the planetarium and kill this new secret boss, Voidling. Void Fiend has 2 stages that it can switch through: woke mode, when it's more traversal focused and heals itself, or racist mode, where it deals much more damage and can hurt itself or stay in that form longer. It's a very interesting concept. It's like a whole new game mechanic alongside everything you already know. Speaking of game mechanics, Void items. These are new purple versions of already existing vanilla items. There are alternate versions that, when picked up, corrupt any normal counterpart of that item. They can be very powerful, but if your character is really good with a specific build, it can make you rethink if it's even worth picking up. It's like half blue item and half normal item, and some of those items are interesting. For example, the Void alternative to the critical damage item Lensmaker's Glasses is Lost Seer's Glances. Instead of a chance to deal critical damage, it has a 0.5 chance to instantly kill a non-boss enemy. Well, that is incredible. Crits can be good for both enemies and bosses, so losing out on the Lensmaker's Glasses for instant obliteration can be quite a gamble. Speaking of enemies, the DLC adds a lot of new threats to your run. There's the blind pests and vermins, extremely annoying but otherwise fine, among some other enemies like Gup! But for the most interesting group of enemies, it's the Void family. Now the base game already has the Void Reaver, a crustacean-like alien that explodes into a black void area, and anything that's caught in it, enemies, players, drones, dies. It's just gone, and I mean anything. And the DLC expanded this by adding Void Jailers and Devastators, and I am uniquely grateful that they stuck to crustaceans. They may look kinda silly, similar to how cute crabs are, but they put up with a fight and they do not fuck around. Aside the Void Seeds, there's numerous 3 new stages to land on. A big snowy forest with dead trees and structures that look similar to the one found in Abandoned Aqueduct. It's a cool place. Quite literally. Then there's Aphelion Sanctuary. Pause! If you're an old stone on my channel or stalk me at night, then you might know about this video. It's quite old. It came from a random funny meme idea I had, and it came shortly after the DLC came out. It is related to the track on the stage. It was also one of the first videos to really blow up on my channel. Now this stage, oh, it's beautiful! Much like the Scorched Acres, it too has a beautiful sunset that fills the entire area. All the weird floaty structures with grass growing on them adds a lot to this being very vegetative. For this track, Once in a Lullaby, holy shit, it starts off very slow and methodical. And fucking then, the drop hits. Shit like this that changes this man like me. You know these kind of people that make really annoying what if questions that usually exist to tick you off? You know those friends! Sometimes they're like, oh, so if you master bait to an animation made by a guy, does that mean a guy make you come? I mean, first off, shut up. Second, if we're going by this logic and going back to this piece by Chris, then I can wholeheartedly say, a guy made me feel something. Fuck, I wanted to save that for the Will Wood video, shit! Next stage, Sulfur Pools, an acidic stage full of pips that poison you in a strange kind of color scheme that I really like for some reason. You ever see like pictures of geysers or hot springs like Old Faithful or whatever, and see all these weird colors that form there in the water? That's what it reminds me of. Yeah, it's not the same as sulfur, but it's got this weird, natural, acidic vibe to it. The music in this one is pretty good as well. The song itself sounds like it's warning you about its dangerous level of acid in them. And then there's Void Locus and the Planetarium. Those are both accessed by going through the Void Portal after finishing the Void Fields, and my consensus on both is, damn. Purple. Jokes aside, this looks so alien as shit, I love it. You can do so much by just working with the color purple, that's crazy. And the Planetarium contains the new secret final boss, Voidling. With a strong run, it's manageable, even if it has 3 phases where almost nothing changes. Still cool, however. Oh, editing me here. I just wanted to hang something onto this. I recorded this before I actually got into a run where I went to Void Locus and refought the Voidling. And I noticed while I was like playing it with a friend, like one detail I really wanted to point out. This is the only song so far in this entire game, including DLCs, where it has a baller ass saxophone solo. Like, listen to this. Oh, that's it. Survivors of the Void was a fantastic DLC for an already amazing game. It added new ways to play, new challenges, new game mechanics, and just overall cool shit. They really outdid themselves, so players were patient what would happen next with the direction of the game. What new DLC would they cook up to change the game? Oh, that's weird. Who's knocking at the door? Furthermore, what's this wooden house door come from in the middle of this futuristic spaceship? Oh, who could that be? Have you heard of Gearbox software? Well, if not, maybe games like Desert Bus VR and Penn and Teller VR do. And Borderlands 2, I guess. Anyways, they publish and develop different games, and in November of 2022, they acquired the IP for Risk of Rain 2. This, however, also led to Hopo Games no longer owning the IP to Risk of Rain, and the last game they made before effectively getting the studio canned, Risk of Rain Returns, a remaster of the first game. And you know what? It's a pretty good one at that. A lot of side content, nice graphical overhaul, and overall just a solid title. Sadly, it's pretty much dead now. Now, Hopo Game doesn't exist anymore, but it's because Valve hired most of the team to work for them. And honestly, it's pretty great that they're at least hired somewhere, even if we have to say goodbye to the old studio. Maybe they can make people care about Deadlock. But what did Gearbox do to the IP? Well, they announced a mobile game called Risk of Rain Hostile Worlds that lasts shorter than a pregnancy period. And then they announced Seekers of the Storm, a new expansion for Risk of Rain 2, developed by Gearbox Publishing this time. When it released on August 27th in 2024, people were distraught. A multitude of glitches, bugs, crashes, softlocks, and anything else you could imagine that could fuck up the game immensely. It absolutely destroyed the entire community. The game got bombed with bad reviews, and it scared off a lot of longtime fans with either coming back. I personally never experienced any glitches of this sort, but it did feel like this DLC was pretty different. But before I talk about the actual content of the DLC, I need to say this. Y'all are doom posting. This DLC came out way too early and was directed by a completely new team. I'm gonna stand here and say this, review bombing in the game is akin to throwing eggs at the house of your enemies. It does nothing but just cause a mess. All it does at the game is just show everyone that it's risk over, which it wasn't. A few weeks after the whole mess came out, the dev team acknowledged the problems with the DLC. They released fixes and even made a whole roadmap for bug fixes and balances. And as ridiculous as it sounds to make a roadmap for fixing a content-complete expansion, it helped. Unfinished or unbalanced characters got better, the bugs were patched, and the DLC was good again. People were in fact just overblowing the severity of the actual situation, like, yeah, it's the internet, misinformation and clickbait spreads like wildfire. Believe me, you and I both know that from all the slop news videos. Now, I don't want to give praise to Gearbox and Randy Bitchfart, but I will give them this. Actually working on the DLC making it better was kind of respectable. Others would have just laid off the team that I just assembled and left the game to die, only with the modding community to keep it afloat. Starbound! As I'm writing this, they announced a brand new DLC, Alloyed Collective. This one has developers of a well-known Risk of Rain community mod working on it, Starstorm. The trailer seems interesting, and I really just hope they learned from this, because despite this absolutely catastrophic DLC launch, I do love this game, and I hope it gets better. Oh yeah, let's talk about the DLC. The DLC adds new items, 3 new survivors, and a bunch of new environments, and a whole new final boss, so let's get through them step by step. The new survivors are pretty neat. Seeker is the character that with enough buff stacking can revive a team teammate once per stage. Aside the other ways to respawn players, this is pretty amazing, and overall I really like the whole design of her as well. Chef is a returning character from the first game, and he's cool. You get him by taking specific food related items to a special spot in Reformed Altar. I don't play him that much, but I do think he's a good character now. I say now because some of his abilities had to be buffed to make him actually viable. Speaking of having to be buffed, False Sun. He's the weaker version of the False Sun final boss fight, but instead of having to defeat him to be able to play as him, you have to get an Aurelian Knight to kill him. Can't say really anything more, but let's get to the stages. Shattered Abodes is a stage 1 environment that I actually didn't know existed until I landed on it. It's great, the dried up colors and abandoned temple structures look great. But here's what's interesting. The stage has a track called I Should Build a Man a Statue, and it's actually not written by Chris this time. It's actually a man by the name of Stavros Marconis. Listening to it again is getting close to the style that Chris has, but it's still really good. Let's jump to stage 5, Helmut Hatchery. The reason I'm doing this is because this and the other previous stages are the only normal route stages, and the ones after this section are all on an alternative route that leads to the False Sun boss fight. Now Helmut Hatchery, god that's a weird word to remember, is massive, and I love myself a huge castle and lava area. Cool. I mean, I can't really say much more about the stage other than, man, the colors really fit together and the stage is cool. Except one other thing. The track for this is called Yane no Mori, and while the track is pretty good, I only have one way of probably describing it to you. You know, like a cliche teenage comedy movie where the quirky male main character sees his soon-to-be girlfriend down the hall, and the shot where she's in suddenly turns into slow motion and plays sexy rock? This is the only way I can describe it. Now these next stages all appear through a special new route in-game after you activate these weird obelisks and enter the portal after defeating the Halconites. Reformed Altar looks cool, it has big feet, but other than that I can't really say much about it. The stage after it is Treeborn Colony. It's a pretty cool stage where you're on these tree houses and walk on routes connecting all of them with each other. But there's one thing that won't leave my mind when I enter the stage. It's the track associated with it, Om Mani Padme Hum Part 2. Is it because it's another banger like Once in a Lullaby? Well, it's not for the reasons you might think. It starts off great, and then, and I'm fully convinced, Chris forgets how to do any music for 30 seconds because this part sounds like penis music. And then after that section, he finally remembers again and the track actually rocks. After you're done still thinking about the stupid track, you get to Prime Meridian. Prime Meridian is the final stage where you fight the new final boss, the False Sun. Getting there is one thing, having to dodge all the lightning and everything, but fighting the boss is really annoying. However, the last phase has a really good music section, like holy damn. What's interesting though is that defeating him on any difficulty gives you a brand new survivor skin. I don't have many of them, but they look really interesting. I especially love the Huntress skin. Oh, that's it for the stages. There's the 18 new items that range from okay to pretty interesting. Variants for Bulwark's Ambry and alternate environment versions when you loop the game. Then the 3 new enemies, the 1 new artifact, and oh yeah, 2 elites that had to be changed completely because they became incredibly insufferable when you got into a long run. Fuck, that's it. Thinking about it, I really just talked about things I could comment something about, but there's a lot more things in Risk of Rain 2 that I didn't talk about. There's the multiplayer.
Wait, I have a question, Britton. Yeah. Can you do your best American impression?
What do you think this is some kind of country for pussies? I've lived here for 10,000 years.
10,000 years?
And they've been introducing these self-checkout machines in my local Walmart. They're not gonna do this in my country.
There's the modding community, who ranges from Goku as a playable character to Multi, where the T stands for tit. Hell, I didn't even know before running this script, but even the Risk of Rain Returns game, which was abandoned by the team, even has a modding community. There's a secret character you can play as by picking up specific lunar items, which isn't even listed in the character list, and it's more so just a transformation. And there's so much more to strategize, discover, or challenge yourself with Risk of Rain 2, but how much will it matter when it's in the hands of a dickish company with a dick of a CEO at it? Well, I mean, first, it does seem like after fixing the previous DLC that they're gonna put more effort into Alloyed Collective. It seems interesting, and I hope that with Starstorm devs on their side that it won't suck, because despite everything, this game is still amazing. And second, people did kind of overreact online about the whole situation. Like at any point Gearbox could have just jumped ship and not care about it. But they, or the team they hired, did make the effort to make it up to the players who stayed despite it all. Even if a large portion of the community has jumped ship ever since the acquisition. I salute the rest of them to still be here, waiting for whatever will happen and really look at every side. Cause you know, this game's still good. And I think the multiplayer with friends makes it worth it. I'm gonna miss having Chris Christodoulou as the music guy. It seems like he's not gonna compose music for it anymore, but the other composer from Shattered Abodes track did a really good job. And I wish the rest of Hopo Games developers at Valve a lot of luck. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. I think you should try this game for the people who haven't played it yet. And one more thing.